Hello, and thank you for joining us. My name is Scott Rickard, and I am the Chief Investment Officer of Granite. You're about to participate in the first of a series of presentations designed to help our clients gain a better understanding of the risks associated with the opportunities to create value when transacting in distressed, low-value, non-performing loans. Granite Loan Solutions was conceived in 2010 and began operations in 2011. Joining me today is Jeff Merrick. Jeff is responsible for the day-to-day operations of the company and, frankly, the strategic vision of the company. Jeff, welcome.
Thank you very much.
Jeff, can you give us a little bit of your background and how you started with the company?
Absolutely. I have 18 years of mortgage banking experience, as we saw the market start to change in 2006, 2007, transitioned into distressed asset acquisitions and immediately started training. Well, I wouldn't say immediately. In 2008, started a really strong commitment to training note buyers nationwide, and was holding 2-day workshops and training seminars, and have really been doing that ever since. And then in a year and a half ago, met Granite Investment Group, and we decided to join forces and form Granite Loan Solutions.
Great. Jeff, I've noticed that in the last year you've seen just a tremendous amount of volume increase in the company. Can you tell me and describe your team and how you're handling that volume?
My team at Granite Loan Solutions is just a group of amazing professionals, and we've been very fortunate in the sense that there were other companies that were around us that we had an opportunity to seek out quality people that were either leaving those groups or were available for hire. And so today we've got some really key analysts and production managers, portfolio managers, whole loan traders, and all the admin support in the middle to really create a top-notch trade platform and environment.
That's great, and I think also with the support services provided from Granite Investment Group with the back office support has been beneficial to the company as well. Jeff, can you give me a little bit of idea about the strategic strategy for the company and what the business strategy is?
Yeah, absolutely. Our strategy is, I would say, fairly simple. There was in 2007 when I started acquiring notes in the marketplace, I was buying from hedge funds and other equity groups and some regional banks. And I quickly realized that there was a very large hole or need in the marketplace. What I mean by that is that they were either not transparent in what they would deliver to you, so you really had to dig deep and spend a lot of money to analyze the assets pre-acquisition, or the price points were just extreme, and it really left a small amount of room for yield and created some potential for loss, actually. So when we committed to creating a trade platform, that was our primary goal and vision, was that we would come into the space and we would align ourselves with the major banks, and we would buy and create all the modeling necessary to buy properly, and then go ahead and create solution for the banks by taking out large portfolios or tranches of distressed loans off their balance sheets, and not going into a tremendous amount of loss mitigation work. So leaving the meat on the bone for the end buyer, really, and then creating a trade platform where we would conduct valuable diligence during our acquisition process and pass all that information on to our note buyers, and let them come in and enjoy wholesale price points so that they could take the assets away, and we felt comfortable that they would go ahead and be able to make a nice yield on the outside.
Yeah, Jeff, I know for our company perspective, we looked at this and saw this as an opportunity as a trading platform. When we're seeing a marketplace where in certain markets throughout the country you're seeing values still unstable or declining, certainly from a trading perspective we didn't feel comfortable holding on a long-term basis to some of those assets, and while the collateral was declining. So I think your strategy of taking those and trading those very quickly and not working those loans but getting those out into the market, like I say, to boots on the ground, to the local buyers where they're best suited to frankly work out a solution for those assets, was certainly the right strategy. I know, Jeff, when we first started talking about the company and where we were at with the company, we had expectations for ourselves of how many loans we were going to do per month. And I look back now and I almost have to laugh at that because, you know, I think we projected if we did 200 loans a month, we'd be very happy. And I know we're well in excess of that now, and certainly gearing up with your vision and things we've done within the company to go well beyond that. Can you give us an idea of where you've been in the last 18 months and the volume you've seen increase?
Yeah, absolutely. It's been an amazing journey so far. Moved a lot quicker than I think we expected, and we've been fortunate with relationships that we've procured, with the staff that we've got in place, and really everything that's happened has been quite amazing. But you know, the markets need this. They need a platform like ours. They need these loans need to be extracted and liquidated nationally, and you know, so I think what we've really experienced is kind of the REO markets have diminished in a sense. So notes are becoming prevalent. There's a lot of capital groups out there that are moving into this platform and space. And I'm pleased to say that, you know, today, talking to people about distressed notes, they're at least aware of it and they have some knowledge of what's happening. Where if you flash back 5 years ago, they didn't have any idea of what that meant. You know, historically, I think it was an institutional trades were happening, you know, at the bank levels. And today, the nice part is that it's now coming down to Main Street investors, and we're allowing individual investors into this platform.
Well, I know certainly discussions that you and I have had with some of the major banks. You know, they've been they're eager to move their loans that are in those mid to high value range. You know, we've had several conversations, you and I, that where the bankers have told us, you know, they can foreclose on a $500,000 home and nobody's overly concerned, but they foreclose on a $30,000 or $40,000 home that creates exposure for the bank that they could end up on the front page of the newspaper. And so accordingly, I think what we've seen confirm this, that the banks have been reluctant to trade that lower value, those lower value assets. And I think, you know, with your vision and being able to come in and be able to harness that sector, I think that's why we've seen the growth that we have. You know, there's a lot of people trying to buy that mid and upper level loans, but the low value is really the key to the success of that, is moving things quickly, pricing it properly, and making sure you get it in the hands of the local people. Jeff, can you spend a couple minutes in talking about, because again, I think the success of the company is driven around the fact that we've built this database of buyers throughout the country that are buying these loans from us. So can you talk a little bit about how you've created that and what you've done to develop that?
The low value range?
Yeah, well, the buyers in the low value side.
Yeah, well, it's, you know, it's been years of training, to be quite frank with you. You know, all the seminars and webinar trainings add up to hundreds and hundreds of investors, and you know, there's always the 90-10 rule, but that 10% is strong. And when we coupled that with the relationships that some of our team members have, it was a nice number of investors. And you know, I think kind of going back to some of what you just mentioned about the low value range platform that we've created, I think that's a really important point. I'd like to expand a little bit on it. You know, I would say the highest percentage of people that get involved in note trading really focus on the $200,000 to $300,000 current valued assets, and it actually causes quite a challenge for them. They might not realize upon entry that that's where all of the competition lives. And when I say competition, now they're dealing with very large institutional, maybe some of the largest hedge funds in the world are living in that space, and that's their competition. So it's extremely difficult for most groups to deploy any capital in that price point. You know, once in a while they can pick up an asset. I sat with a group just the other day who's a pretty sophisticated group, and they're well capitalized, and they explained to us that they bought 6 notes in the last quarter. And so there's really, you know, not a huge opportunity to deploy capital and to grow an entity in this space in that price point range. So that is one of the strategic moves that I believe has really fed the growth of our company, or fueled the growth of our company, is our choice to live in the $120,000 or less price point range. And you know, a yield's a yield.
Right.
And if you can deploy your capital and get to that yield, then it's just a matter of how fast can you do it. So, you know, the nice part about where we're at today is that Granite Loan Solutions always has a nice inventory of mortgage notes for our clients to choose from. We've got a very simple trade platform. We have all the resources, and we're constantly working on building and giving out resources to our clientele so that they can become more sophisticated. They can, you know, maybe grab some government assistance money along the way, or have refinance opportunities, and really maximize and speed up what our clients are doing.
Well, I think it's important that you bring those points up, because certainly part of what we're doing in this series of presentations is we have at our Knowledge Center on our website, you have access to, you know, interviews with experts, where we've brought in experts and interviewed them that can help, you know, people understand this business, because we need to be clear that this business is not a business without risk, and you need to understand what you're doing, not only from the standpoint of how do you price a loan, but how do you process a loan, how do you work through a loan, what strategy to use for an exit. And I know that you have webinars and other information on the website that can help people figure through those things, and really more from an educational perspective of helping people understand the good and the bad aspects of the business. Certainly from a bad aspect of the business, you know, every state has different regulations as to what you can do in that state. You know, can you talk to the borrower? You know, what do you need a license to own a loan? Do you need a license to service a loan? How do you go through those steps? And I think, you know, that's certainly one of the things in the first year that Granite was around. We spent that entire year with our council, making sure we tried to understand all the different rules and regulations. So I think it's important to note that at our website, certainly we don't want to provide advice. We don't want to have people follow our advice, but we can certainly, you know, where necessary, be happy to introduce people to professionals in those local markets or where they're at that can help them steer through those some of those issues. Jeff, one of the things that we've talked about when we talked about low value, and you mentioned 120,000, can you give us an idea what the average loan value is that we're dealing with at Granite?
Yeah, in the last couple thousand loans that we've acquired, the averages come in at about $36,000 current BPO, and that will range, you know, all the way down to as low as maybe $5,000 for a dwelling, up to a high of a couple $100,000.
Yeah.
But typically it's between the 120 and the bottom. And then the average, so that would be the value of the home, current BPO value. And then we also have a loan amount that's attached to that, the debt that you'll actually be buying, and the debt is about $80,000 on average.
Okay. Well, you know, I think one of the things that's important for people to understand as well, that when we say we've created a trading platform, one of the things that we've really tried to do is give people access to what they want. A great example is, you know, if a buyer wants to go buy loans in fact, a lot of people that used to compete with us to bid with the national banks are now buying directly from us. And the reason for that is, and we found that because we're buying large portfolio of geographically dispersed loans, we then put those loans on our website, and we give the people the opportunity to come in and cherry pick. Come in and pick the local market that they know best, that they have the best understanding of that market and can best implement strategies in that market. And so I think to a certain degree that's one of the reasons that we've been successful. But what I'd like you to do is expand as well on what we refer to as VOT, you know, the due diligence component of what we provide investors. Because I think that's one of the things that people need to understand, because generally if you go and you're buying directly from the bank, it's buyer beware. You know, the loan information comes to you, you get the information, you may have a current title report, you may not, you may have a current BPO, you may not know whether it's occupied or not, you may not know the condition of the property. And when someone buys something from us, you know, maybe you can describe the steps we go through to provide some information. Again, we don't highly, you know, we recommend that people, you know, trust but verify. You know, we're providing you this information, but, you know, please go out and confirm the information yourself. But can you expand on that?
Sure, and you know, trust and verify is a great phrase. We vet all of our buyers very carefully, and so, you know, during that process and afterwards, upon approval, we expect that we're dealing with intelligent investors that understand that there's risk involved in any investment. But VOT is an acronym which stands for Value, Occupancy, Title, and Taxes. And you know, low value typically creates some mental hurdles for investors. They don't understand that you can make, you know, great returns at the bottom of a marketplace or at the the lower value range of assets. And so, you know, some of that means that you want to, I guess for lack of a better term, cut some corners. You want to save some money in everything you're doing. And we realized that at Granite. Personally, when I was buying years and years ago, you know, I would pick up the phone and I would call local realtors and I would get my values from local boots on the ground realtors. And it cost me nothing. And I was buying in the same range. And I would, you know, call the utility companies and verify if the power was on, and if it was it on under the borrower's name or a tenant's name, or was it turned off, and what kind of usage was happening. And all this information is free. It just takes a little sweat equity. But when you're, you know, again, when you're just saving that really valuable money, even if it's $200, $300, $400 an asset, it'll really add up and eat into your margins. So at Granite, we have internal processes that we use, such as we run our own internal values for acquisition. So we don't spend a ton of money on our diligence when we're buying, because we've gained so much confidence in our modeling. And again, we've got really intelligent people on board that have built these over the last year and a half.
In fact, I think one of the other presentations we have in this series of presentations is an in-depth discussion with our senior analysts to talk about how we're pricing loans and the methodology behind that.
Yes, you'll get to meet Anand, and just another very sharp individual. So, you know, we keep ourselves safe. When we buy, we have to look at every acquisition as if we had no customers and we were going to execute every loss mitigation strategy. So therefore, we look in depth at every loan at an asset level. We price them accordingly and we buy accordingly. So to turn around and create VOT, value, occupancy, title, taxes, and to, once we are awarded our bid, we will go ahead and spend the big bucks. We'll spend the money on a current, fresh broker price opinion, a BPO. We'll spend the money on an O&E report from a title company. We'll already have the occupancy, very precise occupancy, and then we'll have contacted, we have a vendor that'll contact all the taxing bodies and get us fresh tax rolls. So all of this information is gathered, accumulated, paid for by Granite, and we simply turn around and we give that information to our buyers.
That's great. You know, I think, as you've said, I've heard you say many times before, our objective and goal is to try and keep people in their homes and work out solutions with the people that are being in their homes. And I think it's important that when again, some of the people that are new to this industry or new to this business, you know, there's a variety of strategies. And again, we have another presentation later today where we go into greater depth about the different strategies. But, you know, as you say, you have an occupied home versus a vacant home. Can you just briefly hit on the strategies, how you would look at those differently?
Sure. Yeah, you kind of nailed it on your opening comment there. We're borrower friendly. You know, I think that's a top priority at Granite Loan Solutions. You know, our internal people are critically important to us, and then the borrowers of the notes that we buy. We don't look at them as files, we look at them as people and houses, and that's exactly what we're dealing with in this business. So we are committed to being a solution. The more people that we can go through over the next 2, 3, 4 years while this business is really moving fast, the more homes we can save, the more families we keep together, the better it is. So, you know, when you look at distressed mortgage notes, you really want to categorize them, and I think there's two primary categories that you're going to be looking for. And really, if it's your money, if you're the investor or if you're a fund with, you know, outside investors putting money into you, the capital will always call the shots, right? So, you know, what is the capital looking for? Is the capital looking for cash flow, which means they're going to put the money in, they're going to leave it for a long period of time, or are they looking for capital growth? And really, that's the first split. So depending on what you're looking for, you can look at a data tape of, you know, a certain amount of assets, and you can split it down the middle by just saying vacant and occupied. That would be my first split. Now, there are cash flow and capital growth exit strategies that live in both vacant and occupied, but one of them will provide more, the occupieds might provide more of the cash flow opportunities versus the vacant. So you know, that's you're starting now to dissect the data tape and to look at occupieds. I'll give you some examples of the strategies. popular strategies. Obviously, loan modification is a great priority. Loan modification that's been done correctly can have a very high success rate. Granted, we did quite a few loan mods on our first couple portfolios, and today we actually sold those assets. It was really tough because the yields were well over 40% cash on cash, so it was pretty tough to pry them out of our hands, but we did sell them. We do track them with the buyer that bought those loans, and we're over 90% success. The reason for that is because we realized that if we did the mods right, meaning if the borrower was upset about their balance being twice their house value, then we would cut balances down. If their rate just ballooned up and blew them out of the water, then we'd cut their rates down, lock them in, and secure them tightly for a long haul. But nevertheless, loan modifications keep a family in a home. At that point, you have an option. Do you keep the loan modification for cash flow for long term? Some point, the borrower will refi or sell, and you'll get your money back and a multiple thereof. Or do you take that reperforming loan and turn around and retrade it in the marketplace? So, you know, that's one strategy that we really promote, and we can align our clientele with companies that are very, very good at those. Also, on an occupied asset, do you want to, you can modify them and let them refinance out on a HUD loan in 3 months after 3 payments, and you can be taken out around 95% of value. So that's an extremely fast way to get in and get out. So those are, you know, those are a couple of the strategies, along with, you know, selling to a family member, accommodating the family during a short sale process. There's all kinds of reasons why you might fall into a certain slot. Family might have a job, might not have a job, and those types of factors.
And Jeff, what I'm going to do is I'm going to encourage the people that are watching this presentation to tune to the other presentation where we actually go into greater detail about the different strategies, whether it's an REO strategy or a modification strategy, so that those investors can get a better understanding of the, you know, the details associated with each and the value associated with each. One of the things too that people would probably have a very strong interest in understanding is availability of product, because I know before we started this division with you and got focused on going forward, it wasn't uncommon at all for people to come into our office as a private equity group and present us with a tape of loans and represent to us that they were the buyer of those, that they were the owner of those loans, and they wanted us to partner up with them. And then inevitably 2 days later we'd have someone else walk in with the exact same tape and represent that they were the owners of that tape. And so we found very early in the process that this was, for lack of a better term, the wild, wild west, or you know, buyer beware. And so as a result of that, I think one of the things that why we're getting some good traction in the marketplace is, you know, people can feel comfortable that they're dealing directly with the bank. We're not out shopping these things, and we're not trying to rework these loans to the nth degree before we get there. So maybe you can expand on the availability of product and frankly where we're getting these loans and how we're sourcing these loans.
Sure. Yeah, it was a big frustration when I entered into this space that I would spend time chasing product, and, you know, after running full due diligence and spending, you know, thousands and thousands of dollars, find out that it wasn't even owned by the person who was trying to sell it to me. So, you know, we are committed to only dealing with major banks. We also deal with some of the major servicing groups around the country. But we buy direct is kind of the point. In when we buy it, we own it, and therefore we became the bank, and then we sell direct. So anything that you experience as far as inventory from Granite Loan Solutions will be our inventory. We'll never broker loans. We're approached all the time by our clientele and other groups to sell loans for them, and to date, we've just made a decision not to do that. So
yeah.
When you come to Granite Loan Solution, you can rest assured that you're buying directly from the source.
Well, great. Well, Jeff, I think this presentation was really kind of intended to introduce people to the concept of what we're doing at Granite Loan Solutions. I would encourage people to go to the website and search out the other, you know, I think to a certain degree some of the videos are available on the homepage. I think the other videos you need to be vetted and have a vetting package completed. Jeff, can you describe how do people contact the company, and how would they go about the vetting process to get introduced to the company?
Sure. I think the simplest way is just to join us on our website and or visit our website at granitels.com. And you know, you can learn about our company and and our philosophies and strategies on the website, and I would encourage you to do so. You can get familiar with our staff, key members of our staff, as well as on our homepage. If you scroll down to the very bottom, there's a download section, and that's where you'll download our vetting package. And be sure and complete that. That's our opportunity to get to know you, our new customer, and for you to tell us information about yourself, your company, and where you'd like to buy, and how often you'd like to buy, and what your experience has been. And that'll guide us to, our staff is trained to understand that if you're newer, that we're probably going to give you a little more help, a little more information as far as servicing companies that you might want to align with, and whatever it is that you need, we're going to do our best to get it to you. So that's a great way to get to us.
Great. Jeff, thank you very much for participating in this today, and it's been very informative. And again, I would encourage people to go to our website and search out some of the other information. We're trying to do our best to educate people of the risks as well as the rewards and value associated with working in this sector. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Scott.